Zillow is the elephant in the jungle of residential real estate. It dwarfs any other player. In fact, it's larger than all the other real estate companies' value in Wall Street combined. And so normally a business educates its customers as part of the process to market itself. Zillow, though, it's really interesting, I think, they're using their power unfairly and, more importantly, not helping their customers. And so the first thing I would say is, well, who are their customers? Well, they're not home buyers. If you're shopping for a home on Zillow, you're not their customer. Their customers are people they sell their service to, which are the realtors that buy your data and push you to use their lenders and their vendors. That's their customer. There's a saying in technology that if you're not paying for service, you are the product. And in this case, that's what Zillow is doing. And so I found it strange when Zillow offered a series advising home buyers on how to buy a house. I thought it was interesting that they would do that because, again, buyers aren't really their customers. So obviously it's just a way to get them to act in a way that they want, which in Zillow's case is they want you to use Zillow Mortgage, and they want you not to use human beings, but to use their services online. And let's go to the details and take a look at this video that was done recently. So this was their senior economist, what's her name, Kara Ng, who, from what I can tell, has no experience ever in houses or real estate. Now, she was an analyst for investment companies and had a job working at a university, and then has been at Zillow for a while after taking a career break for a couple of years. But never, she's an economist, but not an economist with experience in real estate. And so I think her video shows that lack of understanding of the market when we go through it. She put a video out, how to boost your credit score to buy a home, as part of the Zillow Explains series. And so I watched this video, so you don't have to. You can click on the video and see the details. I was shocked to see that over 100,000 subscribers that Zillow has on YouTube, it only has 40 views, so not really competition with my YouTube channel. I'm not sure if that means I'm giving them too much information or credit. Maybe more people will watch this video because of me than they do for themselves. That's interesting to believe. And I think anytime that people star in the video, they're promoting themselves. And so I wanted to hear, what is her goal here? Is she educating the customer? She should be, or I should say Zillow should be promoting Zillow and their website and the tools in the website by promoting herself. She, I think, is getting in front of what's best for the customer. That's my personal idea. But let's take a look at it. And then I'm just going to scroll down, and they have YouTube does a great job with breaking up the video, and it tells you a timeline of what's important to it. So the first thing I want to point out is the propaganda that keeps buyers focused on their credit score as the main thing in buying a house. The main thing of buying a house is having a down payment. The second main thing of buying a house is having the income versus expenses to qualify. Make more money, spend less money on monthly expenses, and particularly car payments and credit cards get in the way of people buying houses, student loans, more than anything else. But the banking online system, what I'm going to call the kind of propaganda network that has taken education out of schools and puts it on the internet, just kind of wants everybody to be these mind-numb zombies clicking on these different products and services, focus on your credit score rather than taking responsibility. Your credit score is a reflection of your payment online. It's a statistic, but it pales in comparison to the importance of a down payment and increasing your income and lowering expenses. Now that's the first thing I want to say. At most, you follow all her advice, you're going to improve your score 10, 20 points. That's not going to make a difference in buying a house. Now, what they're trying to do desperately, though, is push you to their mortgage company because they actually make more money on mortgages, ultimately, that's the goal, than they will on real estate. And so how do they do that? Well, in her video, she suggests their buyability program, right? And that is a program designed for you that we just call an online mortgage calculator. Every website has this in the mortgage business. Rather than go online and fill in information, you may not know the right answers. This is the first step. You should be talking to a professional mortgage originator who, rather than you inputting the information, will help you understand how your numbers are calculated, your salary, your overtime, your bonuses, if you're self-employed, how your income's calculated, to give you insight into that you're just not going to get by putting numbers into Zillow's HomeAbility. Now, Zillow's goal is to get everybody put their status in, And then they can just pick off the 10 or 20% easy loans and leave the rest to struggle in a disintermediate economy, meaning where they destroy the industry like they do with the housing. And this is a wrong step. The first step should be to find somebody who can help you. Now, if Zillow's mortgage people are too busy to help you, I'd be glad to make an introduction. I've interviewed mortgage people all the time. They're an important piece of the puzzle, not just because they compete with Zillow, but because they give buyers real information, education that you're not going to get as a do-it-yourself or just filling in information online. So again, Kara probably has never bought a house. If she did, she's a solid employee. That's an easy deal. Did she have any overtime to deal with, or bonuses to deal with, or self-employed income, or does her spouse, or does she have a spouse? That's where you need a mortgage originator. So this idea of going on to Zillow's buyability, you're just not going to get the information you need to improve. And I'll give you a shout out to one of my mentors in business, Greg Frost. He passed a few years ago. He used to meet with home buyers that would come to his office, and he had a rule. Everybody left with a plan. Either you left with a plan to buy a house now, he would pre-approve you or pre-qualify you based on where you were. But if you couldn't buy now, he gave you a plan, and the title was Don't Give Up, and he gave you a plan that within 2 years, anybody could buy a house by saving some money, paying off some debt, fixing some credit items. Now, every originator pulls a credit for free. There's no reason to go online and subscribe to Equifax's overpriced service. Good originators like Greg Frost and other originators will give you a credit score and analyze it and give you a plan and say, well, these things you need to do over the next 3 months, 6 months, 2 years. But to leave that in the hands of Zillow, what you're basically doing is you're helping them destroy an industry that really requires, I believe, for most people, most, not all, some personal information. Next, she offers as a hack, pay your bills on time. And again, I think this is part of the babying of our society. We should take responsibility for ourselves and our ability to buy a house and our ability to create wealth. And that includes making good on commitments you make. If you borrow money, pay it back. If you borrow money on revolving credit, pay it every month. There's no reason to carry a balance on a credit card. It should be a badge of shame, not honor, that you pay your Visa bill timely with a minimum payment. If you're going to build wealth, of course you have to pay for your Visa bill in almost all cases, in full. Because why would you pay 18, 20% or more when you're trying to buy a house and accumulate wealth? Unless your return on your investment is greater than that, which most people get trapped pursuing that, it's always better to pay off in full. And rather than say that, she talks about minimum payments and auto payments. Makes no sense at all. Then additionally, she gives a classic case of misinformation, which is pay your statement in full, which is right to do. That's a minimum standard. But the hack is pay it before the close date, meaning if your credit card, I use one credit card for business and one for personal. And if it closes on the 20th of the month, pay it in full on the 15th. That way, when the credit statements run, your balance is zero or near zero, maybe only the last couple of days' charges. If you're going to pay it anyhow in full when the statement's due, pay it before it closes. That will then update your credit balances as zero and dramatically improve your credit score because you have less balance owed and a lower utilization balance. That's a credit hack. Paying your statement in full every month, that should be a minimum requirement for anybody accumulating wealth, trying to improve their finances, and certainly trying to buy a house. Now, she does give a piece of accurate information not to close older accounts. And that's why I only get credit cards without annual fees, because that way when I use it, I just leave it open. Eventually they close it, fine. What I don't want to do is have to pay a service fee to keep it open of $95. Makes no sense. Now, sometimes creditors will close the account to new purchases, but keep it open in your credit score. That's fantastic. Now you're protected from false usage. It shows your credit score, credit report as a zero balance. Great. But you don't want to close old accounts. That was a bad piece of advice from years ago. And even this gal, Kara gets it correct, which is you don't close older accounts. At the end, Zillow is not in the business of helping home buyers. They're in business of skimming up the top, creaming the crop of home buyers to get some mortgages. Don't let them use your data and waste your time if they're not going to serve you. Find a professional mortgage originator who will help you put a plan together and help you execute that plan. Okay, so with that said, let's take a look at the general market. Again, Kara Ng, not impressed. Overall, I say in an economy you have supply demand, and supply is the number of houses for sale, and demand of real estate is dictated by the interest rates. And we'll see interest rates ticked up a little bit to 6.28. Still, if you look at the chart, we're amongst the lowest of the last year, amongst the lowest of the last 3 years. So interest rates, this drop in rates from over 7% a few months ago has spurred a lot of activity, a lot more buyers coming in, a lot more offers coming in on the properties we have for sale. Definitely, these are amongst the lowest in the time, and I think they'll go down more. I believe the Fed is still holding on the brakes too hardly for political reasons. I believe in the long run rates are due for another 0.5% drop from where they are now, and they'll make things even better. That said, that's where we are today. As far as inventory homes for sale, we had a bit of a drop in October down to 1,507,000, down about 40,000 for the prior month. Now, again, if you look at the chart, you'll see that the numbers are higher than all these years, which are all the COVID years, and lower than 2019, which is the lowest ever pre-COVID. So what I want to say is our inventory rates are still higher than any year in history other than COVID years. And so we still have not adjusted out. We're going to talk a little bit about inventory going forward. And as we look at the market in Los Angeles specifically, according to Altos Market Research, the market has gotten worse for sellers, slightly better for buyers. At 34, they want to consider 30 being a balanced market. We moved down steadily from 39, 38, 37, 36, 35 last few months, now down to 34, indicating that by their standards, the market is trending towards a buyer's market. We see inventory rising, price per square foot dropping. I think overall, yes, the market has moved in the direction of buyers. It's a good time to buy right now compared to where it's been in the past. Though I would say we're in a buyer's market, and I'm going to talk about that in just 1 second. In fact, let's go there now. This is an article I saw online. This is from the Resi Club, a great online source. And he took Zillow's heat map and plotted it. And I looked at this, I looked at this, I looked at this, I noticed something. This is 2007 to currently. It's almost always been above 50%. And so it tells me that our understanding of the market is wrong. And I've been saying this for a while, but this proves it to me. If you look at the middle of the market is probably around the 70% on this particular graph. Or maybe 60% is kind of the middle. And by what this is telling me is we've over-calibrated what a seller's market is. And I believe it's an old definition that nobody has ever analyzed, and I'm going to analyze it right now, which is what's the right amount of inventory. So right now, nationally we have 4.5, 5 months of inventory, which means we have at current sales months rate, 4 to 5 months of properties for sale. That'd be like going to a car dealership that sells 20 cars a month and they have maybe 80, 90 cars on the lot. One thing I've learned is that in most retail, there's a lot less inventory kept in stores than ever before. The local Rouse by me used to be like 50% stock for sale and 50% storage that they would replenish every night. And they moved to a model where 95% is stock for sale, 5% are for employees, and they replenish every night with deliveries. And I think retailers have moved. I know my daughter went to college and then later worked for a large retailer, and they measured turns of inventory in weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. Where when I was in business school, we measured turns in months was normal. And so I believe real estate should be the same way. I mean, houses can sell more quickly. Information is more available right now. It used to take 2 to 3 weeks before the whole market saw new listings. Now, buyers see new listings instantaneously. And I would argue that the middle level of inventory shouldn't be 6 months like most economists say. The middle probably should be 3 or 4 months. And we're right in that range of kind of a middle market. And that's been, if you look at the heat map again from Zillow, that's about where we've been. If you kind of draw the line at the 60% mark, we've kind of been in that range most of the time. And so I would say that we are misanalyzing the market, and everybody is. I'm not just the only one. And I'm trying to maybe make an argument here, and I'd love to see your feedback, that we overemphasize the inventory based on a 1980s model of 6 months, and we should emphasize it based on a 3 month being normal or 4 months being normal. And based on that, we are significantly in a buyer's market. And I think sellers need to realize that. And I think as a real estate agent, I try to show that number to my sellers. If you're willing to wait 4 months to sell your house, that's great. The other thing I would say is that's true for sellers who are maybe trading up. You live in a house, you're going to buy a new house, you're not going to buy the house, do you sell your house? Yeah, if it takes 4 months to do that, it's no big deal. But if you're transferred and moving, you've already bought something new, or already moving out of the area, or your house is vacant, then 4 months in the market's a long time. That's 4 months house payments and taxes and insurance and a risk of squatters moving in. So again, I think we need to relook at what a normal market is in light of the current data. Another piece of information that came up recently, a data Republican, saying the partisanship aside, she's a data analyst who takes policy information and analyzes it with data. Phenomenal. Turns out she's also deaf. Fascinating story. And she points out something. I noticed all the desire to have affordable housing projects, but the old way was we would give out Section 8 vouchers to prospective tenants. And now it's all in the federal grant program. And she points out the reason why is the federal grants can be given to anybody regardless of their immigration status. And in big cities like LA, we want more housing for non-citizens. And the only way we could do that is not with Section 8, but was by dramatically expanding the affordable housing market. And she points out how federal programs do not track the residency of the tenants on those programs. They more are underwriting the building of the property with the builder and letting the builder and then diverse programs don't check residency. So again, the move from Section 8 housing vouchers to low-income built housing is just, in LA, I was like, why is so much of it? Why are they building so much of this kind of housing? The answer is it's the kind of housing they can give to their constituents here in Los Angeles, and that's what Los Angeles is trying to build. And again, like it or not, that's the fact. Now, let's just be honest about it, and I think that's the important thing to have a good discussion. Last news item I have, Grant Cardone, one of my mentors, is really sharing a horrible story. He bought a property a few years ago before the fires for $40 million in Malibu. Beautiful home, like a cliffhanger, but it was a modern version with concrete and cement foundation, not the wood that we've seen in the pylons. And while it didn't burn down, it did have severe smoke damage because of all the smoke in the area. What's interesting is the house, while he paid $40 million, $35 was for the lot, $5 million was for the improvements. And so he was going to do $2.5 million worth of improvements to fix it as a result of the smoke damage. And it cost him $2.5 million to repair the damage done by the smoke. Nothing burned down. But because that's half of the value of the property, the county of Los Angeles, not Malibu City, the county of Los Angeles is going to require him to demo the whole building and put a new foundation at new standards, which is 13 inches higher than it is currently. It's a fascinating story because his house hasn't ever been flooded. And it was built to fire standards that didn't burn. It's one of the houses in the area that didn't burn, when many on both sides did. But the archaic regulations are forcing him to tear it down and rebuild a new house in that location, which is obviously prohibitive and not covered by insurance. And I think it's just another example where I say, when you drive a PCH, those houses are never going to be rebuilt because the regulators don't want them rebuilt. And they'll have rules and regulations to make it impossible. And if really a guy who's almost a billionaire like Grant Cardone can't fix the smoke damage in his house that survived the fires, and he's forced to tear it down, that means a lot of other people less wealthy than that are going to abandon their hopes to build houses in Los Angeles. So, what do you think? Are we implementing proper standards or too tight? What do you think about my sense on the market of real estate, that we're maybe in a buyer's market, maybe more severely than we think? Love your feedback. Give me your feedback. Reply, send me a message, like this, subscribe. If I can help in any way, please reach out. I'm at Bill Gross on Bill Gross Probate on social media. And as always, make today your best day ever. Thanks.